All right, finally, it seems we're fine. I think the video is okay now, and I'm pretty sure the connection is good. So now we can start. Just in case you're tuning in just now and you're watching, or you're just watching the recording of this, I just did a live stream and it sucked bad. For some reason, it got huge lags, probably due to some technical issues, and now we're back on this one, so it should be fine now. Sorry for the inconveniences, but we can restart. So until the people gather up, I'm at Straight Blast Gym, the brand new gym where, yeah, this video is better, thank you. So I'm at the news gym, which was opened like just a couple of months ago. I'm at one of the areas. The gym is huge. It's 2 floors and lots of different facilities. It's a pretty cool gym. So I've been training here for the past 2 months. By the way, as I'm talking, feel free to start writing the questions. So by the time I finish catching you guys up with the background of what's happening, I can directly jump into the questions. So feel free to start writing them. I'll just slide back and read them. So yeah, I've been training here for the past 2 months with the pro team, which is very intense, very difficult. It's a big challenge. Most of the guys are training for 3 to 5 to 10 times longer, literally longer than I train. So the difference in level is huge. Some people I can more or less go toe to toe with, but very few. Most of the guys just trash me, but that's a good experience as well. And then I also joined the fundamentals classes where I'm learning the basics of jiu-jitsu and striking. So it's a whole full package. I'm preparing for my next MMA cage fight, which is in less than 4 weeks. That's 3 weeks and 6 days from now. So there's a bunch of interesting stuff there. And also, yeah, one of the big news in my life is that my relationship status has changed. If you watched my last video, you know about that. So in case you have some questions, I can't go too much into detail because it's 2 people involved and I can't speak for both of them. I can only speak for myself, but still, I mean, if you have some burning questions about that, I'm open to talk about it. So, right now there's no questions at the moment which popped up, but from the previous feed that I did, I had some questions running, so I'll just start breaking them down. So one question was, who's my next opponent? And the story is my opponent is also a former Wim to Warrior fighter. Wim to Warrior is a program that I did in Portland, and he did it in Ireland. It's a 6 months intensive training camp for MMA, where later members of that camp fight each other, and then eventually have a fight. He lost his fight, I lost my fight. I think he lost by a unanimous decision, I lost by split decision, but nevertheless, we both are Wim to Warrior losers, same weight category, and he issued a challenge or just offered to fight each other, and I obviously agreed. I think it's going to be a good matchup. We have similar level experiences. So yeah, that fight is going to go down in less than 4 weeks. It's both scary and exciting at the same time, so we'll see how that goes. I see a new question is here. So King Cosmic is saying, I'm 36 in good shape. Is it too late to train MMA? So to start off, as you might know my own story, I started training MMA basically when I turned 29. I did some jiu-jitsu before that, but not for a long time. So you could say I'm 30 right now and I'm training MMA full time. And I have to be honest, it's not easy. If I imagine if I would have started training MMA when I was in my early 20s, it would have been different. But at the same time, what you need to realize is there are different levels of MMA. The question is, what's your goal? If you're all about training and learning, 36 is no problem, especially if you're in good shape. That's awesome. Just go for it. Also, make sure you find a good gym. Make sure it's a gym where there's no hard sparring all the time. Hard sparring meaning people hit each other in the head heavily. That's not necessary. You don't need that. You can train MMA basically by just learning the main techniques: striking, doing light sparring, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. Without that's a low percentage chance of injury, and the cardio is not too intense. So you can definitely go for that if the gym is safe and smart. 36 is a great age, at least in my opinion. I'm sure there are guys that I'm training with who are of similar age, and yeah, it's definitely not too late. Do it. Just make sure it's not a gym where it's all about surviving and it's all about seeing who's the strongest, where the punches are heavy to the head, there's brain damage, constant injuries. That's for 20s only, and it's stupid. Don't go to a gym like that. So when if you yes, do start MMA at that age, just choose a good gym and you'll be fine. Uh, Julian Davis is asking what type of recovery stuff am I doing? It's a great question. So it's kind of a broad subject, what recovery is. So for example, right after training, I do some stretching. I stay on the mat at least for 15 minutes while I'm still hot and warm. And the stretching, I definitely feel feels great. Just improving my mobility and recovering the muscles. I make sure that in the first 2 hours after the training, intensive training, I eat well. I eat a lot of carbs or just make sure I get some good food because, as some of you might know, as far as I know as well, in the first 2 hours right after training, it's a window where the body really sucks in all the nutrients that you give, and that helps recovery. So I make sure I eat some good, filling food, lots of carbs right after training. Then sometimes I go to the sauna. There's a sauna in the gym, which is awesome. You can go there anytime. It's a sweet part of the gym. So I do a bit of sauna for recovery, but not too much to make sure I don't dehydrate. I make sure I eat well in general. I'm thinking about what I'm eating. I'm taking a little bit of supplements, not as much as I used to. I was an addict of supplements, not an addict, but I was just having way too many supplements, and now I am just having a little bit. One of the main parts of recovery, I make sure I sleep well. From what I know and what I experience, sleep is essential in recovery. So I make sure I don't go to bed at 3 a.m. I make sure that I pack in as much sleep as I can, that I try to raise my quality of sleep as best as I can, and that's huge recovery. And also I try not to overtrain. I try to make sure I don't pack in too much training, which is a tough challenge because I do have a tendency to overtrain. But if I feel I'm really tired, I'm doing my best to stop myself, better take a day off and then train more next day than overtrain. So I'd say that's my main plan of recovery, if that answers your question, hopefully. Jason Tucker asks, are you planning to stay focused on being a fighter or do you want to get back to being a teacher? That's a great question, and it's something that is actively on my mind. I am leaning, I'm a bit on the fence, but I started noticing, especially these days, that I'm leaning over to one side versus the other. And initially I thought that would be a cool narrative. It would be an inspiring example for me to start MMA at 29, 30 and reach the pro level. Obviously not, I'm not fit on becoming a champion anymore at this age, as far as I can see. And I don't think I have the mentality of a champion. I think I'll talk about that in detail more in the future videos. It's just, there's so many more things on my mind, such as YouTube, making sure I create positive influence to others, video editing, and just being a public figure in a way. I feel I can create more impact by sharing my story, documenting, meeting people. And if you want to be a champion, I investigated what makes a champion. I asked a bunch of coaches and top-level fighters that question, and my conclusion was you have to be obsessed about fighting. You have to, the champions, they're always thinking about fighting. They're always trying to understand better how fighting works. And that's not me. I can say that I love training, I love sparring, in a way I love fighting, but I'm not addicted and I'm not obsessed about it. And so that makes me question whether it makes sense for me to pursue a career in fighting. Whether I will fight some more in the future, maybe, but there's a big chance as well that I'll definitely continue training, but it is likely as well that I will mix the training in between of doing what I do best. It's putting up important questions about martial arts online, continuing to pursue my YouTube career, producing quality content, unique content, valuable content. I feel that's the best I can do, and it's a question whether it's worth. Because these days I'm putting so much effort into becoming a good fighter that there's little energy that I can spend on pursuing and developing my YouTube channel. And I feel it's a bit of a downer. I mean, there's so much I can give through this media, and it's a bit too bad that my own personal training gets in the way. and that makes me question whether I really want to pursue a full-on career as a fighter. So I might fight a little bit more in the future. I'll definitely continue training, but if I'll aim for becoming a pro fighter, that's a bit of a question. It also depends on how I do on my next fight, and what life presents. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll definitely still talk about it, but there it's a question for myself as well. In regards to teaching, I doubt if I will be a teacher soon. First of all, there's so much to learn in MMA, and I still feel I'm really just a student. So I'm not aiming at teaching yet. Maybe when I get a purple belt in jiu-jitsu or something, maybe then. But I'm not rushing into teaching. If I have a philosophy that if you teach, you have to teach super well. You have to be, you have to really know your stuff. And I don't yet understand MMA so well. So if I will teach, definitely not that soon. Draco Films is asking, do you have any advice fighting someone a good amount heavier than you? That's a good question. It's most people underestimate how big of a difference the difference in size makes, and the difference is huge, especially if the guy knows what he's doing. So my advice, well, so do you have any advice fighting someone a good amount heavier? Okay, so it depends on whether we're talking about sparring or fighting. If it's fighting and the person is much heavier than you, I would improvise. If we're talking about fighting in the street, we're talking about self-defense. And self-defense actually is not fighting. Self-defense is survival by any means necessary. Hopefully it doesn't involve killing the other person, but basically if I would be faced by a much bigger person, first of all, I would aim for improvised weapons. So meaning grab a chair, grab something that you can throw at the guy. Don't try to go head on against that guy if you can have some other option. First of all, if you can run away, run away. If you have to fight, improvise, search for improvised weapons, or try to do damage in the best way you can, which does not emphasize itself on the size difference. So I don't want to go to the cliche, kick in the balls, hit the throat, poke an eye out. But I think that's probably the moment where you should aim for those things to make sure you get as huge advantage as you can. Also depends on what's your skill. And also a big person, the chin is the chin. I mean, if you can hit the chin, there's no muscle on the chin. It doesn't matter how big the person is. The heavier the person is, the heavier he goes down. So hopefully you can knock him down by getting a good solid kick his knees so you dislocate it, or do whatever you need to do to survive. No rules. There's no rules in survival. There's no rules in self-defense. So I would, but I wouldn't go head to head and try to beat the other person. Maybe I don't know, rear naked choke him if you know how to do that. But basically, my first instinct would be improvise. That's kind of a short way of answering that. So what else? The Daniel Meeks is asking, what do you think of Izzy's win? I'm thinking whether we're talking about Adesanya here. I'm not that well known. I don't know the UFC. I know UFC fighters, mostly the ones I know personally. But I guess you're referring to that. I haven't still watched the fight, so I am looking forward to watch it. But if we're talking about Adesanya, he definitely deserves it, I think. I just need to still watch the fight. Tsekas Agelos, sorry for mispronouncing your name. I'm sure I just mispronounced it. But the question is, I started BJJ 3 weeks ago, and everything hurts more or less. How was it for you at the beginning? How did you feel? It was definitely challenging because everybody knows more than you, and everybody kind of smashes you, and it's a normal process. You just have to go through it. In terms of everything hurting like muscles, it's normal. When you start a new practice, muscles hurt. It just takes a while to get used to it. My advice would be, don't over push it. BJJ or any type of training is a long game. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. If you will train super hard 1 month and then you will stop for free or a year, it won't help you that much. Take it slowly. Do 2 sessions per week, take enough time to recover from one session to the other. It should be enjoyable. You should feel like, okay, I can do this, instead of, oh my God, how will I survive this one? So it will be challenging. It's mentally tough. Doing jiu-jitsu is tough. But you also have to give yourself a kind of environment where you can feel like, okay, I can do this. So don't push yourself too much. Don't slack either, and don't expect quick results. Just take it one step at a time, and trust me, you will get better eventually. Everybody goes through it. Derek Neal asks, are you planning to open an MMA gym in Lithuania? It's an interesting question, and it's something I might consider in the future. But again, I spoke before in the beginning of the stream, is that I still feel like I have to learn a huge amount of things before I start teaching MMA, if I ever will. And if I will, maybe I will open it up, but definitely not anytime soon. MMA is a huge game. Or you're talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, and wrestling. And each one of those you could study your whole life. So to teach all of them, it's a huge responsibility. It's a tough game. So until at least I'll be a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I don't see myself teaching yet. But what the future will bring, we will see. Paul Denino. Do you ever use double end bags or those reflex balls that are connected to a hat by an elastic string? I like those, and I like they're good for hand-eye coordination and reflexes. I always felt attracted to them. So double end bags, there's none here, so I don't use it. There were none in the other gym, so I wasn't just exposed to them. In terms of the balls, I would actually take a tennis ball back in Portland, and I would hit it and it would bounce off the wall, and I would hit it again and again. I love that. It's such a fun thrill to do it. It's engaging, and I do feel it improved my accuracy a lot. I feel that's one of the things where I excel in striking, is my punches are quite accurate. And so I guess that might be part due to the training with the ball. Haven't done it recently. There's so much I have to learn here, so many challenges I have that I have plenty on my plate. But I do feel positive about that type of training, and so why not? 432 Fuzz says, my gym does a lot of ground and pound. The punches are not hard, but hard enough to make you want to cover up. If you don't cover up, they hurt. What do you think? Should I switch gyms? That's a good question, and it's interesting how you phrase it. So let's start with just in general, the ground and pound. I feel it is, especially for MMA or just in general, it's such a good practice. Yeah. So you're doing jiu-jitsu and there's hits in between, and I feel that's a very important and valuable practice, because if you don't include strikes, even just light strikes, light tapping, you don't realize where you expose yourselves and how dangerous that is, and you don't realize what positions are good, what are bad, and you don't have that urge to go for a takedown, or a sweep. So it opens up a whole different world, and so I appreciate that part of training. Now, if it's very heavy hitting, shit, that's bad. And I think you should, if you feel dizzy after the training, if you feel your head has received damage, yes, I would consider switching gyms, because if you get that on and on again and again, you are risking permanent damage, and that's just not healthy. You should not do that. If it's something where it's like you feel like you need to cover up, but you don't feel like your head is being damaged, I think that's that may be good enough. But that subtle difference is what really matters. Is are you experiencing actual damage to your head, which is your brain, your most important tool? And if you do, yes, you should switch gyms, in my opinion. But yeah, depends on how heavy are the strikes. If it's light enough where you feel you need to cover it, but you're not experiencing damage, I think that's still doable. But again, you have to feel whether it crosses that line or not. Paul Denino is asking, who are your favorite fighters at the moment? Again, it's funny enough. I guess I'm so focused I'm so focused on my training and making sure I produce good quality on YouTube that I'm not that deep into the UFC game. I'm not the fanatical one who's watching all fights these days. I'm starting to make some UFC friends, and it's interesting. It's a thrill to watch your friends fighting, and it's such an engaging experience. And I'm sure people who follow UFC kind of get that sense as well, because they start to feel like they know that person. But those are the guys who I follow most. So this last Saturday, there was Gunny Nelson, who I had a good amount of time to spend with. He was fighting, and I was just so much into that fight. John Phillips, I'm training with him. I don't know him so well, but he was also fighting, won such a great fight. And Nicholas Dalby, such an amazing guy. He's so cool. I loved spending time with him, and I watched his fight, and I love him as a fighter. I mean, he's he's really one of those which you want to. He puts up a good show. Uh, but in general, so I have a low level of knowledge of all the fighters that are out there, but some of the guys I did feel like I like them was Max Holloway, John Jones. I like his creativity and fighting style, despite what everybody else says about his personality. Also, Adesanya, I guess I tend to like those long-reaching, more skinny guys, but with creative styles. I think that kind of feels attractive to me, and kind of playing smart, being a smart fighter. I feel a draw to that. So those are a few names that are on my mind. Shmuel Malkin says, Yo Rokas. Well, hi, yo Shmuel. Lance Lamont, are you on a specific diet? When I was in Portland doing the Winter Warrior for 6 months, I was quite specific about my diet, and honestly, it didn't turn out that well. I think I was depriving myself from any deviations from food, so I was barely eating anything besides the regular regime, and I feel it kind of emotionally affected me. And a line that I picked up from Gunnar Nelson is, a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. So obviously you shouldn't, eat whatever crap. Although one of the best fighters in history, Bill Superfoot Wallace, who I actually had a chance to meet and talk to, he ate burgers, fries, and ice cream his whole life. He's still eating that, and he's an undefeated champion. So diet is such an interesting question. I do mind my food. I'm smart about what I eat. I avoid sugar. But I'm not like on a specific diet. I'm just trying to be smart, making sure I have enough carbs and protein for my training, making sure I reload my carbs right after training, that I give enough protein at the end of the night, at the end of the day, to make sure my muscles recover. I try to get enough vitamins, eat food which is light enough for my stomach. So all of that, I'm mindful about my food. I love George Lockhart's stuff, the way he approaches diet, and I'm aiming for getting some, following some of the tips he gives out, and just kind of being smart about what I eat. But it's not any specific diet that's like, this is that diet, like keto diet or whatever. No, I'm just basically trying to be smart about my food. Mendel Alvarado says, hi from California. Love watching your journey, man. Thank you so much. I love California. I've been there a few times. It was awesome. I'm planning to definitely come there a few times again. Xfora says, how are the people you're living with? So let's, living with, we don't have to actually even be that as specific as living, but I can say just like training. The protein guys, it's just incredible how awesome they are. There's that myth, which I keep referring to, the myth of MMA fighters are douchebags, and they're meatheads, and you see, the thing is, there's the show element of MMA. You have to make some noise to get attention. Unfortunately, that's how entertainment works. And so some of the guys who you see trash talking and then you meet live, they're some of the nicest guys. I'm not saying there's no bad apples in MMA. Of course, there's some arrogant douchebags, but I feel, in my experience, they're exceptions versus the regular guys. Most of the guys I meet, super humble, super nice, welcoming, and I love them. And there's maybe one or two guys who hit a bit harder, maybe too hard. Maybe they try to prove something, and I'm looking at them like, dude, why are you doing this? But even so, I feel even those guys, after me training here enough, they start to respect me and kind of decide, okay, he's one of us, and then they start to help me out. They start to teach me, give advice and support. So I think it's just kind of a rite of passage for them. But though there are very few, most of the guys are super nice, lovely people, lovely individuals, quite inspiring, and yeah, so I have a thrill getting to know professional fighters up close. The Daniel Meeks is asking, have you thought about trying to do a series with Renner or Huron? I'd love to. Honestly, it's something I didn't bring up too much yet. It's not necessarily like a secret. It's just something in the back of my mind. I'm thinking about what I will do next with my life after I finish the training camp here at SBG Ireland, and I'll say it now officially. You're the first ones to hear this. I'm thinking about doing some traveling, going to some of the most amazing fighters and coaches, and doing high quality kind of documentaries or short documentaries or these really awesome videos which wouldn't be just sit down and talks but would really give an insight to their thinking and training and so kind of really like a martial arts journey thing. And I have a whole list of people that I'd love to meet, and Henner and Hiran are definitely some of the people I'd love to spend some time with. I feel they're awesome individuals, inspiring. So yeah, I'd love to do that. Then right after you wrote you wrote Styler Bender. I mean, probably you mean Style Bender, Adesanya. I don't know if you're referring to that previous comment which was there, or whether you're just asking if I'd love to meet him. If yes, oh yeah, I'd love to spend some time and get to know how he works and train with him. And who knows? Actually, I'm planning to go to Australia sooner or later, so that could be a good name. Paul Danino. I also like long reach skinny guys because my frame is pretty similar. Tony Ferguson, John Jones, Adesanya, etc. We're on the same page, man. Shmuel Malkin is asking, how tall and old are you? I am about 6'3", which is 190 centimeters. So I am a tall guy by regular standards. In Lithuania, in my country, we tend to be tall. So there I'm like normal. But when I travel, I'm a pretty big, tall guy. And I turned 30 2 months ago, so I'm in the 30s club, and I'm starting to feel I'm starting to get a bit old. So I'm definitely not in my 20s anymore. But yeah, 30 I am. Gelebra says, "You are the strongest, dude. You will win." Thank you. I appreciate that comment. Monkey D. Luffy says, "Do you study other great fighters like Khabib and John Jones?" I don't study them as much, in a way, as much as I wish. I admire them, and sometimes I look at them and I try and understand. When I meet great fighters, top of their game, or coaches, I really try to understand how their mind works. You know, what's their approach to fighting, what's their approach to training. And I had a chance to meet some quite exceptional fighters, so I'm always interested to kind of understand the mindset. In terms of breaking down technique, I feel I still have to learn so many fundamentals, and maybe I envision that's going to be I tried to, but I felt I just don't know enough basics, or I mean fundamentals, to try to learn from the best of how they're functioning at a high level of training and experience. So I feel that's probably going to be a later stage. Right now, I'm much more about just learning the fundamentals because there's plenty to learn, and I feel later probably I'll look more into those guys and be like, okay, so how did they evolve? So that's my mindset. Paul Danino is asking, do you ever spar with Makwan? I didn't spar with him like a full-on MMA round or striking, but I did wrestle with him next to the wall a couple of times. So you stand by the wall and you're trying to defend, and he tries to take you down, or vice versa. He's a beast. I think that's enough to say. He's just on a whole different level. But yeah, I did have a chance to wrestle with him a little bit, and I'm like a baby fighting a giant in terms of just like a metaphor. Shmuel Malkin is asking, Shmuel, I find artists have way more ego than the jiu-jitsu and judo practitioners I know. I wonder what you mean by saying artists, whether that's martial artists or artists in general. The artists I met, most of them they're quite full of their ego. Martial artists, oftentimes they have quite a bit of ego as well if they're not doing pressure testing and live sparring. Jiu-jitsu and judo guys, the thing is, in martial arts, in traditional martial arts, you don't fail often, and that boosts your ego. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, you fail a lot. You're always constantly reminded that you're not the best, that you have limitations, and that you're not undefeatable, and that usually keeps your ego in check. So I think that's one of the reasons why the ego is usually smaller there. Ruben Moniz is saying, "What's your current view on karate in MMA?" It's an interesting question, and I have more or less an opinion. I mean, I know personally, I consider actually as my friend Oliver Enkamp, who has a karate background, and he's a two times UFC fighter, now a high-profile fighter at Bellator, and he applies some of his karate in it. I spoke to James Gallagher, who has a karate background. Richard Kiley is training here, who has a karate background. I believe, yeah, I think, yeah, he has karate background as well. Gunnar Nelson, I spoke to him and trained with him, and he has karate background. So there's actually a bunch of guys who have karate background. The thing is, if depends on what you're asking specifically, but the thing is, if you're just using karate in MMA, you're doomed. You have to know wrestling, you have to know grappling. Karate itself will not be enough, and even most styles of karate, they're not full contact. And I spoke to these guys, I asked them the same question of how does karate work in MMA for them, and they said there's some good things they pick up, like feeling the distance, some of the kicks, precision, but just so it can add into your MMA game, but MMA and karate are two different worlds. You should never go just with karate to MMA. You'll be doomed. You can take your karate and use some of it in your MMA training, but again, those two are different realms. Paul Danino, how much do you weigh? So actually, right now I am maintaining my weight, or I'm checking my weight. I don't know, supervising my weight. Anyway, I'm making sure I'm on weight because in 4 weeks on fight night, the fight day, I'll have to be 84 kilograms. I forgot how much pounds that is. I'm sorry, man, but yeah, I just forgot. But 84 kilograms, amateur middleweight level, and the thing is, it's same day weigh-ins, so I have to be more or less on weight. When I came here, I actually wanted to bulk up, and I was gaining weight. I was making sure I eat more calories than I use, and I actually bulked up. I actually went all the way to 89 kilograms, and I was like starting to get bigger. But now I walk at around 86 to make sure that when I need to lose the weight for the fight, I wouldn't be that far. So I walk at 86, aiming to be 84 on the fight, but then probably after the fight, I'll start bulking up again because why not? Keith Rogers. Since you now have been exposed to MMA, what is your favorite fragment of the system? Is it boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, judo, or jiu-jitsu? It's an interesting question, and it's funny because honestly, I thought about it a lot, and I feel like I'm trying to be all-rounded, and I kind of enjoy all parts of the game. Initially, wrestling was so tough for me, but now I feel like I like wrestling, so it's a good sign. But I thought about that question, and I tried to answer it to myself, and the answer is the best answer I could find was, I feel most comfortable standing. I love boxing. It's just I love exchanging punches and looking for openings, tricking your opponent. So I feel most comfortable at it, and so I guess that probably would be my favorite. And kickboxing, I'm starting to add some kicks, but I'm not a great kicker, as most of you know from my previous fight. So it's not necessarily kickboxing. Is not necessarily it. I'd say boxing is my favorite, the one I feel drawn onto most. I love jiu-jitsu. I love wrestling. But probably I'd say, interesting enough, I'd say it's boxing. Tsekas Agelos. As far as BJJ is concerned, do you feel like you had learned a lot of things after practicing for a year or so? Did you see any difference on your technique? Yes, absolutely. I mean, BJJ is not my main focus all the time. I'm focusing on it quite a bit because the badass pro fighters submit me way too easily. I mean, actually, I think I'm good at defending. I think I'm pretty good at defending the chokes. Actually, I don't get submitted that much, but still I get smashed. They get me into bad positions, and then it's all about surviving for me. So I want to excel in my grappling, in my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, especially when I'm going against pro guys. If I roll with like a fresh blue belt or white belt, I can usually I can deal with them quite easily. But in terms of developing in a year, I feel jiu-jitsu makes you improve really quickly, especially if you're training often, you're rolling often. So personally, I feel I improved during the past year in jiu-jitsu. I improved tremendously. Like before I went to SBG Portland, and right now, it's like day and night. I feel like, my game is completely different. Sorry. I This is sneezing. I sneeze around 5 to 6 times for some reason. Sorry about that. But yeah, just to sum up the answer, I feel you can really learn a lot in jiu-jitsu in a year. Same with boxing, same with wrestling. That's why I love those practices. Julian Davis, on the note of documentary, are you planning to stay with the theme of MMA or are you planning on branching out? Now, if I'll still catch your comments, I'd love to know your ideas of what do you mean by branching out? What ideas do you have? And it's a great question altogether. But the way I understand the question and the way I think about it, in a way, I think I'd like to branch out. I still want to understand and excel more in the MMA game, so it might be or MMA, BJJ, it might be more of the focal points. But actually, Nick Drosos, a high-level, very well-known self-defense expert, we had brilliant contact recently, and we already are arranging a plan for me to visit him in Canada, do some documentary with him early next year. Jesse Ankamp, he's a high-level karate guy, and we're looking into doing some project with him. Somebody mentioned Henner and Huron Gracie, they're Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys, but still, I'd love to do something with them. I'm very open. I mean, I love self-development, improvement, psychology. So I won't be surprised if I'll slowly start to branch out, and I definitely won't limit myself to MMA. But I'm pretty sure MMA, especially for a while, still will be an important part of the YouTube curriculum, because I still just want to get to know it better before I move on to next things. Joshua Amparado, did you watch Robert Whitaker versus Israel Adesanya? I haven't watched it yet. I'm looking forward to it. Just haven't had the chance today. But I actually really enjoy Adesanya as a fighter, and I know the results. But I definitely will watch that fight. I think it should be an excellent fight. Random dude, were you able to do any of your Aikido techniques to a resisting opponent ever? Oh snap. Let me think. Yes. Yes, but you see, it took me a while to think about it. Like even in my first grappling tournament that I did, Nogi BJJ, I pretty much pulled off the Koregashi. I mean, he didn't go all the way to the ground, but I tripped him using that, and so it worked. I did apply some Koregashis in rolling as well. I avoid doing that. Actually, I just filmed a video about that, so I'll speak about that in detail in that video. But the short version is, I avoid trying to force my Aikido into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or MMA because I feel I want to learn first the fundamentals and maybe they will come later. So yeah, I just don't want to force it in. But there were a few moments where I tried it out and it kind of worked out, but I don't really consider it high percentage or my go-to technique. Shmuel Malkin, he's suggesting that actors and musicians tend to have a big ego. I agree. That's my experience as well. I actually tend to. It depends, there's good people and bad people everywhere, but generally actors and musicians, artists, they tend to be quite self-centered from what I experienced. Random dude, what do you do for a living? Well, this is my survival mechanism. YouTube is my primary source of income. So yes, I earn money by making videos from ads. I also do some other projects. These days, I'm getting paid often enough for editing videos, filming videos. Evidently, I became good enough for people to hire me, but it's not my primary source of income. It's just like a secondary thing. But yeah, sometimes I get these random gigs. But aside that, YouTube is my source of income. I don't spend much money. I don't need much money, so I'm not like rich on YouTube. But I get enough to make a living. So YouTube. I'm a professional YouTuber. Paul Danino, 84 kg is like 185 lbs. So yeah, makes sense. Grant W. Do you like grappling or striking more? So I just spoke about that. Maybe you missed through it, but I love them both. I just feel I feel more comfortable at striking. I rather stay on my feet than go to the ground if I have the choice. So I guess striking. Monkey D. Luffy. How does 1 week of training look like for you? Like which martial arts, rounds, etc.? It's a good question, and I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry that I did not make a vlog about it. I'm planning to. I want to, like just showing you around the gym and showing you how training looks and everything. I promise you, I will do that. It's just hard for me to do it because I'm just so focused on the training. I don't want to kind of deviate from it, but I'll have to make sure I do that video. But I'll give a bit of a recap to you here right now. So basically, in SBG Ireland at the gym, there's pro team session every day, I mean Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. It's 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., super intensive, super high level guys. And Monday we do, I keep mixing up whether it's Monday or Tuesday, but I think Monday we do, I'll say this, and these days might switch, but not a big difference. So let's say Monday we do 5x5s. So 5x5s is we do each day on each class we do 30 minutes of drilling, and then the rest 30 minutes is basically sparring, but they're conditions. So Mondays it's 5x5s, means 5 rounds of 5 minutes of grappling with strikes, small gloves. So it's a lot on grappling focused, full on, like 80%, and light strikes like ground and pound and everything. So it's intense. God damn it, it's intense. But it's like full on fighting. You experience, you're just dead by the end of it. But then Tuesdays it's positional training. You get into a certain position, and like after the 30 minutes drilling, you get into a certain position, and usually we take bad positions, like you're next to the wall or you're in half guard bottom, and you have to, as soon as a new guy comes in, and as soon as you start, you have to get off the wall. He has to take you down. Or if you're in half guard, you need to get out of the half guard, or submit him or sweep him, and he needs to submit you. And as soon as you submit or you get out of the wall, let's say, another guy comes in and you stay, and another guy comes in, you stay for like I think 3 minutes, and then you switch guys. So that's positional training. Then Wednesday it's kickboxing, 30 minutes drilling and then kickboxing. Then Thursday we do 5x5s again, and Friday we do positional again. And aside from that, I also do additional trainings in the evening. So there's a jiu-jitsu class, let's say on Monday at 7:30 to 9. Coach John Kavanagh teaches jiu-jitsu himself, no-gi jiu-jitsu. Or another day I go like to fundamental jiu-jitsu. Saturdays there are extra striking classes, I do that. So basically, my training regime, that's kind of how my training regime looks like. At least one session per day. Usually it's 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. I do 2 sessions, the next day I do one, and then et cetera, et cetera. About 6 days training per week. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. A lot of sparring, some drilling, and yeah. Julian Davis, as far as your relationship, what were some of the valuable lessons you learned? What are some of the pitfalls you could guide us around? Awesome questions. Awesome question. And just include everyone, for some of you who might not know, from my latest video, I announced that my relationship status changed. I am divorced now. I do not have a wife anymore. And we were married for 7 years, so it was a long relationship. But to answer that question, as dark as it sounds, one of the biggest lessons I learned is, as I said in the video, I believed that if you can work it out with anyone. Like if you work hard enough, you can be good partners with anyone. And unfortunately, as much as I tried, I came to a conclusion eventually that some people are not necessarily meant to be together. Some people are just too different, and it's not worth it to go too far. I think every relationship will need you to sacrifice. Every relationship will need you to work hard. But if you're working hard all the time, and 80% of the time you're working hard, and only 20% of the time things are good, I think there are better relationships. There's more suitable people for you, who you could have better fundamental understanding with. And that's what I'm aiming to search for in my next relationship, is to have fundamentally same values, fundamentally same outlook. And then of course you'll have bumps and bruises, and you have to learn stuff about each other and kind of clash sometimes. But I'd say that should be like at least 40% of the time, not more than 50% of the time. So I think the most important lesson that I learned is that you need to find a person that you're compatible on the essential level. And sometimes people say differences attract, and I think some differences, yes, on the superficial level they should attract. But I feel if you really want to have a good partnership, fundamentally, at least in my opinion, I want to have a person who fundamentally with I see eye to eye, and only on other things we're different. So probably that's the biggest lesson that I learned. That not all relationships are worth all the effort. That you have to be smart and feel where the line is. Josh W. What's up, Rokas? This is Kintanon from Reddit. Oh, sweet, snap. Good to see you here. You planning on doing any more grappling competitions or focus purely on the MMA side right now? Good question. So I thought about that, and the answer is right now, well, I have my fight coming up in 4 weeks, so it's all MMA. Obviously, I'm doing grappling as well, but I'm all driven by MMA. But when I'm thinking about the future, I have a whole list of options of what I feel I could do in my life and what I might do in my life. And there's a big option, like an attractive option for me to focus more on grappling, doing grappling competitions, because the head trauma, yourself, head trauma is a thing. And I'm smart enough to consider that, and I don't want to punch my head, get my head punched all the time. And jiu-jitsu is such a good alternative. It's a full-on resistance practice where you can still compete, you can still have that competitive feeling and get a full-on challenge. And so there's a pretty big chance I will focus more on it and do some competitions in the future. But I still need to finish my MMA journey, or at least do a major step in my MMA journey by doing the second fight, and then I'll see. Oh, Sivu 1, boxing and BJJ. Do you think Muay Thai, boxing, and Jiu-Jitsu is a good combo? Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what MMA consists of. You just have to add wrestling. So I think they're a great combo. Joshua Parado. Are you familiar with Sunsho, Chinese kickboxing? Not really. I was more into Japanese martial arts, and I know a little bit of the Chinese martial arts, but I don't know that much about it. I wonder if it's like Sando, like the full contact kung fu, but I'm not sure. Jeremy Then, I guess that's not not an English speaker. How to fight well? Probably he means. I mean in MMA, or maybe that's a typo. That's a very general question, so I'm sorry I can't answer that. Train well, and you will fight well. That's my opinion. Mario Jr. Children training MMA, do you think is dangerous since they can harm their no-trained schoolmates? Best regards from Brazil. Interesting question. I didn't think about that too much. I never trained or taught kids MMA. I see kids training MMA here in the gym. And I don't think it's a bad thing if the gym is good, if it has a good mindset and it teaches that this is for self-defense and there's no violence in it. They're not teaching a violent attitude. I think it's great for kids to have that skill set, because I feel MMA, like even personally for me and people that I know, it really gives you a sense of confidence that you can handle yourself, so you don't feel like you have to prove anything, and that actually may get you out of fighting. So I have a positive outlook of children training MMA as long as the mindset is trained as well, as long as it's addressed that this is not to be used to bully. So I think it's the mindset first that matters. Aya Okera Boateng, maybe I pronounced it well. What is good martial art to start with, BJJ or MMA? It's a common discussion that I see. Again, I'm not an expert of this, so I'll just share my opinion. I think it makes sense to start with BJJ just to learn your grappling, because MMA is such a wide field. There's so many things you're learning at the same time. So I think it makes sense to learn some BJJ first, so you would have a grappling base and then go to MMA. But also too, I mean, if you can start MMA, well, I guess why not? But I think it's a good idea to start to get fundamentals in a specific realm and then move on to the whole package. The Forums is asking, do you have any spiritual views? I used to be super spiritual. Like, if you know JP, I think that's his name, Ultra Spirituality. I wasn't that bad, but I can relate to his jokes. I understand exactly what he means. If you haven't checked that channel, it's super funny. You should check it out. He's making fun of ultra spiritual people. and lots of truth in his jokes as well. But I used to be spiritual. I used to be an Advaita Vedanta, which is a non-dualistic teaching coming from India. I was focusing quite a bit on Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, Zen Buddhism. So I know all of that stuff. I used to meditate a lot, and I picked up a lot of good things from it. But at the same time, I dropped a lot of it. I dropped all the religious sense of it, and so my spirituality is simply summarized by do good. Be good, do good. That's what actually Swami Shivananda said, the famous Indian guru. But I think that sums it up well. It doesn't matter what your beliefs are. What matters is what you do. And what you do, by what you do, I mean, it's bringing value to other people, making sure that you feel good and people around you feel good, that you live a meaningful life. And that's for me spirituality. And it doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to revolve around God or universe. It's as simple as that. Just live a good life, be good to others, excel at being the best version of yourself. For me, that's spirituality. So if we consider that spiritual, yeah, I guess it has spiritual views. I believe that the world is smart, that there's a certain flow to things, that things happen for a reason, and if you tap into that flow, your life will be good, that your life will be awesome. I feel like that happened to me many times. So there's a sense of intelligence to life, but I'm not like calling it God or something. I just noticed there's a pattern like this. So my spirituality, if I'm spiritual, I'm super simple spiritual. Taylor Coles. Have you ever trained in Kuk Sulwon? If so, what's your opinion on the martial art? No, unfortunately, I haven't trained it. I heard that it exists. Some people mentioned it to me, but I never had close contact to it. So unfortunately, I won't be able to answer this question. Joshua Amparado. Sancho is full contact. It incorporates wrestling, kickboxing, and judo. I think I saw it here and there, but again, I don't know much about it. So I just heard that. I think I heard it's just like very similar to MMA. So sounds good to me. Monkey D. Luffy. Nearly all UFC champions have a strong wrestling background. Do you think wrestling should be prioritized in MMA? Again, great question. Not an expert. I remember that. It's just my opinion. But I think I wouldn't say like prioritized like badass, like hardcore. But I do feel it has to have a strong, important part. And I do feel at Straight Blast Gym, a big part of it. Like positional training. There's always wrestling in it. That's twice per week. Even in the grappling parts. Yeah, even in the 5x5s. There's a lot of wrestling in it. So we focus on wrestling actually quite a bit, and I feel it's a super powerful tool. So I think, yeah, it should definitely not be neglected, and personally I think it should be on a high place and priority. Whether it should be like the Holy Grail, I don't think so. But yeah, I think, yeah, that it should have an important part. Pavel Andonis Gavralidis and something else says, would you ever take a dive? Excuse my audience. I do not know what's a dive. Is that a drug? Or I don't know. If somebody knows what taking a dive is, let me know in the comments. Let me know later. I'll hopefully read it and get to know what it is. Matrix 2 says hello. I say hello as well. Expo Ra. Will you do some vlogs before your fight? You mean like vlogs? If you mean like vlogs, like sitting there and just talking, yes, I actually filmed a few, and I'm looking forward to release them. I feel I touched some important, good subjects. In terms of walking around and filming myself, I'll do my best to make one about me training here at SBG Ireland. But it's just so tough to get that in. It takes a lot of energy and focus, and I really want to focus on fighting and my fight. But I'll do my best. Can't promise, but I'll do my best. In terms of speaking in front of the camera, yes, absolutely that will happen. Mohsin Lala, man, it's been a long time since we've AMA'd. It's true, Mohsin. I was thinking about that, and I was telling my buddy here, my MMA friend, that actually the last time I did it, I think that was half a year ago, about 6 months ago, maybe even more, before my previous fight. So, snap. Shmuel Malkin. I like Buddhism, but most of the Western practitioners I've known are artists, artsy types with a lot of ego. That's one of the reasons why I drifted away from spirituality and even more so religion, because actually I oftentimes feel like it does boost the ego of the person. It becomes a very subtle ego, like a super ego, where they become very good at presenting themselves as altruistic and caring, but oftentimes there's there's a hidden, subtle, very big ego there. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not that big on spirituality. It's not a rule of thumb. It doesn't mean everybody's like that. In spirituality or religion, there are obviously good people, but that happens, and that makes me cautious. Micah Hepler. I learned more solid morals from Aesop's fables than any religious book. I don't know what fables those are, but sounds good. Moxie Law says, gay, being spiritual is punching people in the face. Well, that's an opinion. Levi Matthews, how much running do you do a day? Actually, I'm not doing any running these days. When I was in between my training camps, I did a lot of running. I did like 10 kilometer runs, not daily, but like every third or fourth day to make sure I recover for the next run. Here, the thing is, I'm focusing so much on learning techniques and sparring is such a strong cardio training that I feel like I don't need, and there's no days for me to add pure running anymore because I already did such an intensive cardio and I needed to recover by the next day. So I'm getting plenty of cardio on its own, and I still need to focus on that type of cardio where I'm also learning techniques because I need techniques. So running is not a part of the game right now for me, but I started enjoying running before I came here, and I'm very sure that I will continue running when I come back and doing both like sprint days and also doing like 10 kilometer days. Yeah, I'd say I'll probably be running at least once per week, maybe twice per week. I run Monday, Tuesday, let's say I do strength training. Then Wednesday, let's say I do some whatever, different type of training. And then Thursday I run again, for example. Curon's Death is asking when your next fight will be. So it'll be in less than 4 weeks, 3 weeks and 6 days. That's November 2nd. 432 Fuzz, alternative term. That's an explanation. Sorry, it was that was way too back. I don't actually necessarily know what we're talking about now. Paul Andonis Galvralidis. Would you ever fake losing for money? Ah, shit. Sorry, that's what you were saying. Sorry, I didn't know that term. My bad. Fake losing for money? Nah, I wouldn't. The thing is, I have very strong morals. I really like emphasizing integrity. And so I don't care about money that much. I don't need much money. So, and I hate lying. Like if I ever am forced to lie, I hate it so bad. I just hate lying. It's just not my thing. I'm so, if other people lie, it's like, okay, I get it. But it's not me to lie. And so faking and lying, it's more or less the same thing. So I just feel like I wouldn't do it. It's like, whatever money is not good enough. For that, integrity is more important for me than money. So I just wouldn't do it. Crohn's Death. By the way, just to give everyone a heads up, I'd say we have about 10, maximum 15 minutes more together. So if you have, some major questions, make sure you put them up before we finish up. But I'm just letting you know that story time is running out. Actually, I have a talk with the founder of Aikido Flow, the YouTube channel, and right after this live stream. So, yeah, and this can't take forever. Anyway, so Kiron's Death is asking, how many hours per day do you train? How many days per week? I aim at training 6 days per week, and it depends. Like I train. The pro team session is super intensive, and sometimes that's enough. You're just completely dead, cardio-wise and physically-wise by the end of it. But if I have enough energy, I train at the evening. So in the evening, it's either 1 or 1.5 hours training. So usually it's like, let's say one day it's about 2.5 hours. The next day it's 1 hour. The next day it's 2.5 hours. The next day it's 1 hour, and just kind of alternating like that. X4Ra says Rokas embedded. Yes, why not? Monkey D. Luffy, do you weight training? Not now, because actually I also need to lose weight for my next fight, and I just have to learn so much about technique still that I'm focusing on that. But before I came here, I did weight training, and I'm planning to continue doing that later. I enjoy weight training, so I will do that, but not in preparation for my fight. Zivkin is asking who's my favorite BJJ practitioner. Actually, I don't know that much about actual individuals. I know of some, like, there's Gordon Ryan. I guess I am aware of that name, but I'm not following the jiu-jitsu game so much to know. Although I really like my roommate from back in Portland, who's a high-level competitor, John Diggins. He's awesome, but I just love him as an individual. Maxim Lala, taking a dive means losing a match on purpose, cause you either got paid off or for any other reason. Yep, got it now. Zivkin, what do you prefer, gi or no gi? Because MMA is kind of no gi, and Moxila says no gi. MMA is kind of no gi, so in a way I prefer no gi. I like the speed and kind of the messiness of it, and I just don't know that much and so well about gi. All the right positions for the hands and grabs and everything. So it's usual that we don't like something that we're not very good at. We usually don't like that much. So that would be an honest answer. But yeah, today it's no gi. We'll see what happens in the future. Taylor Coles. Have you ever thought about training in MMA and BJJ for the next decade or so, then reopening that Aikido dojo, but incorporating everything you learned in MMA and BJJ in its Aikido curriculum? Yeah, of course I thought about it. I had that thought, and I thought it would be an interesting experiment. Although at the same time, to be honest, I'm not really sure if that's worth it. Because what is Aikido then in the end? You know, I think I tried reinventing Aikido, and I actually just filmed a couple of videos about that, about functionalizing Aikido, which I will release soon. I think they'll be good videos, so keep an eye for it. But basically, the thing is, Aikido, I think, if you functionalize Aikido, it starts to look like generally like bad judo or bad jiu-jitsu, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And so why not just train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Why not just train MMA on its own? Like if you would open an Aikido dojo or gym, which incorporates MMA, the question is, what's the Aikido there? Like what makes it Aikido? If it's the mindset, I guess you can add the mindset of Aikido, but would we still call it Aikido? So it's kind of a big identity question. What Aikido is and how do you define where it starts and where it ends. But personally, right now I just feel like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA is just enough on its own. Why add Aikido? And if to take the philosophy of Aikido and add it to it, it wouldn't make it into Aikido, but sure, I would consider that. Zivgin, what do you think about the ADCC? Again, I'm not a big follower of the whole jiu-jitsu realm, so I know of ADCC. It seems fun. It seems like it's top-notch. I mean, I like it, but not a huge follower yet. Xfora, what's your opinion on why there are so few gay male MMA fighters? Good question and interesting. Maybe, I honestly am interested to think about that out loud. Maybe it's because they don't come out. Maybe there are plenty of them, but they just never speak about it because maybe the MMA realm doesn't feel like it's, MMA is still quite macho. It has a lot of that masculine quality, and I wouldn't be surprised if gay people who practice MMA, they would feel awkward about letting others know that they're gay. Plus, also too, I'm very supportive to gay people, and I don't think that's an issue. What I'm going to say right now, but that may seem like an issue for people who train with them. I mean, MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's very intimate. You're grinding each other. You're sitting on top of each other. You put their head in your crotch, and just maybe letting others know that you're gay might seem a bit dangerous because they may feel uncomfortable about that. Like back in Portland, I know a few people who are high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners and gay, and that doesn't seem to cause any issues. But also that's Portland. Portland is very progressive. MMA, I guess, it's a bit more rough. But so again, it's a good question. Or whether I don't know if gay people are more sensitive and they are just not drawn to MMA. That could be that, but also maybe I'm just being stereotypical. So I don't honestly know, but my guess would be some people just don't come out as MMA fighters. Maybe they're not drawn to MMA. I don't know, but very interesting question. Would be interesting to dive deeper into that. Shmuel Malkin. Would someone willing to fake losing or for money ever admit it? No, of course not. But I'm just, whether you believe me or not, you know, whether you believe me or not, I'm a completely honest person. I hate lying. My whole channel, my whole life is about honesty. I don't mind telling the truth about anything. So if I would have any thought about losing for money, I would honestly let you know. I'd say like, you know what, I actually would consider it, but I wouldn't. So Zivjin, would you switch gyms in terms of comparing it to SBG Ireland? Um, I'm not saying I won't train anywhere else. I love SBG Ireland. It's great. I haven't tried so many gyms out there. I mean, I'm considering of training with Oliver Enkamp, who has a gym in Stockholm, and we are becoming good friends. And he's 2 times UFC fighter, high-profile Bellator fighter, and I'm curious to learn from him. And so I might travel around and just learn, but I don't know if you would call that gym switching. But I'm open to training at other places. I do want to experience how training is around. Zujin, how did you felt during your first BGG lesson? The first BGG lesson I had was I was still just pure Aikido, and I was rolling with a BJJ blue belt just as friends. He was like, "Oh, look, I'm going to show what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is. This is what you do. Let's do this." It was humbling. I wasn't like, I didn't have that identity crisis. I kind of expected him to beat me, but obviously it was way worse than I thought. But I was like, wow, I was impressed. I was impressed and humbled. I'd say that's my answer. Levi Matthews, how do you fund your MMA training? Common question. I guess I should make a video about that. It just comes up so often. Okay, the answer is YouTube is my primary source of income. I do get income from YouTube, just enough to do my training, but also I always seek for ways to do some exchange. So now I have skills at filming, at editing. So I did that when I went to Portland. I'm doing this at SBG Ireland. I offer my skills as a barter, as an exchange, so to get a discount, and that really helps. So right now I'm making videos for Coach John Kavanagh. I used to make videos and actually still do it for SBG Portland, Matt Thornton. So that's a huge benefit. I offer to do something for them so they would make a discount for me, and that makes life easier. I don't need as much money. And then I do YouTube, I get my money from that, and also I get gigs here and there where people send me footage and I edit it, or I film some project for them and I get paid for that. So that gives additional income, and that's how I fund my MMA training. Monkey D. Leffy, what's the best advice you would give to an MMA beginner? I'm a beginner myself, but let's see, I'll try. Don't expect to do don't expect to do good quickly. The same applies in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Because if you will expect quick results, mentally you will destroy yourself. You will lose motivation too quickly. Expect to be trashed, expect to lose, and be bad for a long time, and then just do it continuously. Focus on consistency versus intensity. Don't train 1 week every day and then don't train for a month. Better train twice per week, every month, than do these intense periods and stop. That would be my advice. Mofsinal, have you thought of adapting Bill Wallace's fight stance for your stand-up? It'd help in your upcoming fight. I mean, I thought about it, but again, I feel like I'm still learning the fundamentals, the basics. I want to first nail the fundamentals, feel comfortable at them, and then start experimenting. But obviously, I'm doing my stuff. I mean, I'm trying this and that, but only what comes up naturally. I feel 4 weeks before my fight, starting to try to learn a new style would be too dangerous. Zivjin, what supplements do you recommend for recovery or overall? Again, not an expert, and it's an important subject. So I shouldn't just throw out suggestions about supplements, as I'm not an expert. You should always ask an expert. But generally, supplements. Honestly, I don't know. Again, I could just guess. I could say what I know of, but it wouldn't be high level advice. I think it's better to look at suggestions. But also, just one thing, I think you should never neglect food. Food, quality food, I believe can make up for supplements. So where I'll stop. Ain Carmos asks, do you prefer gi or no gi? Just to answer that question some moments ago, short answer, no gi. Jiv Jin says, my name is Jiv Ginsberg. Congratulations. Šarūnas Jakubėnas. Oh, that sounds Lithuanian. I give you 100% that's Lithuanian. Nice to see a fellow Lithuanian. Channel. Keep up the good work. I still remember our fight 10 plus years ago, and you came such a long way since then. Best of luck for your next fight. Oh, snap! This is my old classmate. Snap! Ha! Yeah, we trained together. He did karate. That was fun. Thank you, man. We should spar again. That'd be fun. Jijin, what do you like most? Striking, wrestling, BJJ? That question was asked. Short answer is I prefer striking. Joshua, actually, just because I'm running out of time, I'll start to answer the questions in a shorter way, because otherwise, I'll never get to the end. Joshua Amparado, what's your opinion on Taekwondo? I'm a huge fan. I'm currently training at Sancho, Taekwondo and BJJ. I'd love to be trained by John Kavanagh at SBG Ireland. Taekwondo, again, never practiced, just talked to some high-level practitioners and discussed that question and thought about it. I think Taekwondo misses a lot of aspects, not the fact that you're not punching, from what I gather, the fact that you're not punching into the face makes a big difference, but the kicks they can be effective, but you do need to practice that in actual sparring, full contact sparring. If you don't, you will not be able to do it, but I feel there's some value in Taekwondo. You just should not see it as an end-all main martial art that doesn't need anything else. Jibjin, what is your end goal? What do you try to strive for, I guess the question is? To provide value to people, to be as useful as I can, to live as meaningful life as I can, to be happy as I do it, to create inspiration. That's my end goal. Yeah. If I die, if by the time my life ends, I know that I've given something unique, and as I did my best in doing that, that's my end goal. That's all. That's more than I need. That's more than enough. RFB, is there a way to try and improve the audio? I'm with headphones and still difficult to hear you. Sorry, man. I mean, this is about to end, so. But I'm talking to my phone. Maybe next time I'll plug in some microphone. Sorry for that. I'll learn for the next time. Victor L. Invicto, do you fight professionally? Do you want to fight professionally in the future? I did consider it. Short answer, since I'm wrapping things up, is I thought about it, I considered it, but I'm not sure if my life really wants to take me that way. Short answer is I feel probably I can do more by focusing on my channel and providing very high quality content, which makes you think and transforms people. It may be more useful than me becoming a pro fighter. So that's why I'm questioning that. Gojinai, do you feel more comfortable striking or grappling? Striking. Do you ever think you'll try to hit a wrist throw or something Aikido in an MMA fight, or do you ever try it in sparring? I am not trying it in sparring yet because I feel I just still need to survive against the beasts I train it with, and I still need to nail the fundamentals. In a fight, no, first you need to master it. You should not do something in a fight which you don't do in sparring, in my opinion. So first I should do it in sparring. If I become efficient in sparring, yes, I will pull it off. I will try to pull it off in a fight, but first we'll have to try sparring, and that's going to still take a while. Chrono Phoenix, your voyage is one of the most useful and interesting experiences in YouTube. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate you saying that. That means a lot to me. That's what I'm doing my best to do. So it's nice to hear that it feels like it. What is the best striking ability in your eyes? Timing. Pavel Andonis Gavralidis. Do you think it's important to kick with shoes rather than bare feet? I don't know. I never thought about it. You should explain why that question matters. Anonymous Automaton. Have you ever heard of Jason Blaha on YouTube? No. I'm going to answer questions quickly because, yes, I finally reached the end. So we have a chance for a couple more last questions, but I'm answering these last ones quickly because I want to get down to the end by the time this broadcast will end, and that's about 2 more minutes. So Moxie Nala, actually I think boxing and modified taekwondo are the best striking combo. Moxie Nala is a smart, capable guy, so you should listen to him. RFB, thanks for the answers. Galebra says, Pumpis. I know Galebra. She's a nice and beautiful lady, but let's keep whatever Pumpis means between us. Oscari Limata. Eye poking. Lol. That's just an answer to the striking. So good. Yeah, I'm happy I was able to reach the end. Man, that was intense. 1 hour and 15 minutes of quick speaking. So I'll wrap up and just say a few last words before I finish. So just before we split, so yeah, a reminder, my fight is in less than 4 weeks, 4 weeks and 6 days. Again, I apologize for not putting up as much content as I wish I could, but these days, especially since I announced the change in my personal life of me not being married anymore, which I feel before I did that, before I announced it, it was difficult for me to be completely honest, and it's really important for me to be completely honest with you. Now that that's out of the way, I can again make more content. So I filmed actually a few different videos of where I shared some interesting thoughts about both Aikido and MMA, something which I feel will give you value. So these will come out soon. I made an interview, I have a recorded talk with Heart to Heart, Icy Mike, who made fun of me. Well, not really of me, but he made a parody with me. Anyway, we spoke about that. That's going to come out Wednesday. So cool videos are coming out, and after my fight, mid-November, I'm planning to put much more effort into the YouTube channel. Most likely, soon after that, I will start, there's a big chance I'll start traveling the world, going to exceptional people, making much more high-quality content. It's going to be awesome. So stay subscribed. Own your journey. And also I'm thinking about merch. I'm thinking about a t-shirt which would say, question the hell out of yourself. I like that phrase. I realize I'm saying that a lot in my videos. Anyway, I won't keep you up anymore. It's Sunday. God did not let you work on Sunday, so I shouldn't be working as well. Anyway, it was a fun blast. Thank everyone for staying with me. It was fun talking to you. And yeah, we will, I'll see you on the virtual mat again soon in other videos. Thanks for the fun conversation. Oh, get someone to stream your fight, please. It's a good idea. I might do that. I'll do my best. I'll definitely make sure it's recorded. Thank you, everyone. And where's the button to end this? There we go.